Hey, this is Pat Freeman here again on the network with my buddy Chris Stevenson. How you doing, Chris?
What's going on, Pat?
Hey, we're once again, we're at our third part of looking at the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and all that surrounded it. And on today, we're going to talk a little bit more about that, one of the biggest crimes of the 20th century. Chris, last week we talked about that we were going to name the person who, from the evidence that we're seeing, from the research of several researchers, including the attorney for the King family, William F. Pepper, we have a name out there as a possible killer, and is the one that they believe is the one that killed Dr. King. Who is that person?
Well, the name that I'm focusing on is not the Earl that we were told that have done it, James Earl Ray.
Right.
But this guy here is Memphis Police Department Officer Earl Clark. Now, this is somebody that Pepper has been focusing on through his investigation.
Is he still living?
No, he's not. He died in 1987.
Okay.
Okay. His wife was a witness at the later trial, of course, that Pepper and them arranged regarding King, the trial that really was not covered by the media. Okay. But in Pepper's second book, An Active State, it goes into a lot of what is regarding this man here, Earl Clark. Earl Clark.
Why don't you read what Pepper says about Earl Clark, so we can get a better understanding of why he believes he is the one that fired the fatal shots that killed Dr. King.
Yes, I'm going to read the exact words that's going to give a connection here. It says the fourth participant was MPD, Memphis Police Department, Officer Earl Clark, who died in 1987. Earl ran the MPD firing range out at the Armour Center and was regarded as perhaps the best shot in the force. Jowers also confirmed something I had learned some years ago. Clark was exceptionally close to Frank Liberto. Jowers and Liberto had told him, Jowers said Liberto had told him that the police would not be around at the time of the killing and that they had a fall guy in place. Jowers had previously told Attorney Garrison that he received the murder weapon from Raul the day before the killing and gave it back to him near the actual time of the assassination. So he also said that he did not leave the grill for a night or two before the killing. But here, it shows here where this guy was he wasn't just a cop.
Yes.
He ran the firing range. He was known to be the most accurate. Yeah. Most accurate killer there, and the most accurate shooter, I should say, that they had. So you could see why he would be the most likely candidate, that they would pick in order to do this. And he was just one of several candidates. Okay, but he's the only person that was seen after the assassination running furiously with the rifle. And then dumping the rifle into this Jim's grill, and then running out after, and disappearing and jumping over this hedge where he was spotted by a taxi driver, and then getting into a police car and driving off. Who else can just get into a police car and drive off without anybody hearing about it? You know what I'm saying, or making a thing out of it. So he was the most likely person to have. And he's the person that I strongly believe is the one who actually did it. And
he was a Memphis police instructor. He was a marksman.
Marksman. And it's think about this also, how deep this conspiracy against King runs, where you had law enforcement officers who were the same people supposed to protect King, the law enforcement and the military. You can understand criminals and the Ku Klux Klan. Okay, here's a cop, okay, that is the actual shooter. Okay, so, we all know police are corrupt today, but to that level, that's truly amazing.
Now, Soledad O'Brien from the CNN crew
Mm-hmm.
did a special on the assassination of Dr. King, and she was trying to move the focus back to James Earl Ray and take away from the focus of the research of qualified researchers that know this was an organized hit. It was an organized conspiracy. Why do you think that has always been the case?
Well, you know, because for one thing, people who make these mainstream beliefs don't like the interference of truth later on. Soledad, I've never been, so I know it sounds cliche, but I've never been sold on Soledad O'Brien. She's not a soul sister, in my opinion, okay? She might be a nice lady, okay? But that's CNN's answer to diversity. Her and this other guy, this black male, supposedly, who just revealed a few months ago that he was on the down low or whatever. You know, that's their answer. Hey, we got some blacks. Okay, I'm not listening. Okay, you know, I'm not hearing you. You know, but that's what's going on today. In early years, you had Beverly Williams, and you had the anchor, the longtime black anchor, who just retired. I can't think of his name now. You know what I'm talking about. They were the staple. They were the black faces at CNN. Now things are different.
Right.
Okay.
I know what you're talking about. I've forgotten his name.
Yeah, but you know, it's not a good situation. It's not. You know, the mainstream thing has been, and it's even pushed by Garrison. Garrison, this is the guy who basically brought up the JFK conspiracy.
Right.
Now, why is he diffusing William Pepper's conspiracy?
Right.
You know, that you would think he would be all over it.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Pepper presents legal evidence that moves you away from James Earl Ray.
Right.
And also, he's a defense attorney for James Earl Ray.
Right.
Now, with this murder, Chris, there had to be conspirators. There had to be people within the circle of Dr. King who were the Judases?
Well, it seems like, you know, we discussed last week Jesse Jackson as one. Simply because of what he did regarding the invaders, moved them out, moving down, and he had no authority whatsoever. It had nothing to do with the invaders. Okay, why would he be concerned with that?
So he
not a hotel official, not higher up with SEOC or SNCC or any of these other groups that's, you know what I'm saying, that was around at the time.
He removed a hedge of protection that was armed.
That was armed.
That would have returned
fire.
The
only hedge of protection that was armed, and yeah, like you said, would have returned fire. You know, also, what's his name? Samuel Billy Ray Kyles.
There's another name that has come up too. I think he's in prison. He was hanging out with Minister Farrakhan for a number of years. James Bevel.
Oh,
if you remember, James Bevel was connected with the Million Man March. Okay. He was also in a circle and was found to be a informant. He was in a circle of the civil rights.
So movement. he was in Memphis also at on April 4th?
Yes.
Wow.
And he was said to be an informant and worked against Martin Luther King. That's the Reverend James Bevel. I think he's been arrested for sexual abuse and is in prison in Virginia.
Well, see, that's the thing.
Unless he's out.
Usually,
doing
these people
Sandusky.
He could be. Usually, these people, they do get some. When you do things like this, they give you some immunity. When you get in trouble, if you get in trouble later on, you know what I'm saying? You know, they don't really mess with you. Okay. Case in point, Louis Farrakhan. People have connected him. He's even admitted himself his role in the King assassination. There has been no grand jury.
Malcolm X.
I'm sorry, in the Malcolm X assassination. There's been no grand jury out to get him. There wasn't one to go after Elijah Muhammad when he was alive. Okay? And they just watched the whole thing and let it happen.
What role did the government play in the murder of Dr. King? I mean, obviously the military was there.
Yeah. The military seemed to have carried the ball. You know, the government was probably the same forces behind government as was the one that killed JFK and RFK later on.
Were these murders really connected? The same people, same type of
yeah, I think
orchestration.
the same type of orchestration.
And the reason behind it, you've seen other people say that those three individuals, John F. Kennedy, Robert Kennedy, Martin Luther King Jr., were people that affected public policy.
Right.
They were able to move masses of people and change public opinion and public policy, and had to be taken out to keep this new force of individuals that has now risen to power in power.
Yes, yes. You know the thing about it, when you say policy, you mentioned it earlier before we went on the air, the difference between policy and law.
Yes.
You know, what is that? You know what I'm saying? The difference
Right.
between policy and law. Law is something that, you know, you live under a law.
Right.
Policy is something that becomes normalized in your mind.
Right.
In other words, at one point, you know, segregation was policy.
Right.
Now desegregation is policy, and kids born after that, they don't even think about it.
Right.
Okay? So we're the beneficiaries of a policy because of Martin Luther King.
Right. Jim Crow is morally wrong. Segregation, morally wrong.
Right. Right.
Mistreatment of African Americans and people of color because of race is wrong.
That's wrong.
That is the change of public policy.
That's the change of policy. And then today we're going through it. We're seeing the beginnings of it today with health care.
Right.
Down decades from now, free health care is going to be policy.
Yes, it will be.
Today it's just the law. But it's the people, your grandkids, your great-grandkids aren't even going to think about it. They're going to say, what, you mean you paid for this? You know what I'm saying?
Now,
way back when.
Getting to the murder,
yeah,
we're looking at a fact that we have the military, the government, the Memphis Police Department, also the mafia, Carlos Marcello, Frank Liberto, and others that are associated with organized crime in the Memphis and New Orleans era, and the mysterious Raul.
Yes.
All played a part in pulling off these assassinations. And it was also said that Raul played a role in the assassination of JFK.
Yes, I heard that. I remember hearing that. That's amazing.
And that they have finally identified the mysterious Raul. So we're now looking at the Memphis Police Department. It was found that the Reverend Samuel Billy Cowles is a known Memphis police informant. That when Dr. King, on his way, before he went to Memphis, received a anonymous phone call stating, "Why are you stay at the Oakmont Hotel, which was a white-owned and operated hotel? You should be staying at a black hotel in a black neighborhood." And at that time, they moved him to the Lorraine Motel. Right. And also, some mysterious person in Memphis put out the room publicly where Dr. King was staying. This is not. You can compare the Lorraine Motel to a Red Roof Inn or a Super 8 motel. That's the comparison.
That's cold-blooded.
You know?
Yeah.
Where you have to get to the room from outside.
Now,
There's no security.
The Oakmont was a big, tall skyscraper almost, looks like. Okay?
It'd be very difficult to take out a person unless you get inside.
Yeah, but the main reasoning there, they were concerned, is that the Oakmont was white. They didn't want to accidentally shoot a white person.
Right.
Whereas at the Lorraine Motel, if you accidentally shoot a black person just passing by, so what? Big deal. Okay, that was their reasoning. Okay, you know, you didn't want to kill a good white person,
right?
Who you know, under friendly fire.
Now, also with the murder, it was stated that Dr. King was supposed to be killed, Andrew Young was supposed to be killed, Ralph Abernathy was supposed to be killed, but I also believe that A.D. King was targeted also, because later on, A.D. King is assassinated. Now,
A.D. King, I understand, had a room, I guess, on the first floor of that the Lorraine Motel. That's my understanding. What according to this book here, this is amazing, because we don't hear a lot about A.D. King.
Right.
There's nobody talking about it. Okay. probably the least known of all the civil rights era black, relative of the civil rights era black leaders. But, one person said in that YouTube video he was actually more radical than Martin.
Yeah.
So they're looking down the future, as these people do. They look at the future when they do things. Yeah, strategically. Now, they say, we don't want to have to deal with this guy coming up next after King. He's even more radical than King.
A.D. was found, they said that he allegedly drowned or committed suicide. But he allegedly drowned. They found no water in his lungs. His wife was in Jamaica, immediately came back when she found out of the tragedy, and she wanted to see the body of her husband. Mm-hmm. She said there was bruises on his neck, bruises on his forehead. He had bruises on his head, which is indicators that he was beaten and then thrown into that pool. And the, others have said that he was dead before he hit the water.
Now, understand this. These suicides here, suicides are usually preceded by depression, signs of depression or something. Okay? Suicidal people are people who take their lives because there's something that they just cannot live with. Okay? There's something going on with them. There's no indicator. You never heard anybody talk regarding this, Mr. King. Right. A.D. King. Obviously, he's not going to commit suicide while his wife's on vacation. Right. what a horrible thing for her to come back to. Right. You know what I'm saying?
He was an expert swimmer.
An expert swimmer.
Expert swimmers don't drown on pool.
No. Actually, so that there's something fishy about that. Now, like you said, there's signs of signs on his forehead, bruises, ring around his neck. Okay, there's no telling. They obviously tried. They either tried to hang him or they did hang him. Or they're so angry they're beating him, trying to lynch him at the same time.
Previously, his house was bombed. Also,
that's the big thing.
A.D. King was an integral part of the civil rights struggle, but he allowed his brother to take the lead. But they said A.D. was as important and as influential in the struggle as Martin. Yeah. Now, with all of that said, like you made a statement earlier, the act of strategically diffusing a movement that was changing public policy by taking out strategic people. Yeah,
and really, they were too late anyway. The policy that they really wanted, that was gone. So there had to be something else that they're looking at. Okay? Desegregation was already policy. There was something else that they had to be looking at. And the one thing, as is always the case, when they take out anybody, is that they, which is the purpose of programs like COINTELPRO, they fear a black messiah. Right. Okay? Whoever has the potential to lead crowds of black people at the snap of a finger, and a lot of white people at the same time, they gotta go.
The thing, Chris, that I look at with the assassinations that occurred, and especially centering on the assassination of Dr. King, is where was he going to at the time of the assassination? Like you said, the Civil Rights Bill was already in. The Voting Rights Act was already in. Right. Desegregation, the format to desegregate schools and everything else was already beginning. Yeah. But the thing that Dr. King was beginning to strategically put together, along with others, is what we're seeing today in Occupy America, the 1%ers against the 99%. He was beginning to attack economically the Poor People's Campaign, and politically, like you said last week in that part, there was indications that he was possibly going to run for president of the United States.
That had those things there. Could you imagine a king just formally announcing his candidacy? Okay, just think, hey, okay, I'm going to run. Good Lord, how many people would have said, you got my vote? Yeah, they're thinking that that's 10 million votes right off the bat. Right. Right there.
That's an ultimate threat.
Yeah, because they're saying this guy's the real deal. Right. Nobody's bought him. But we can trust him.
Chris, I think when we study his assassination, it opens the door towards the assassination of others. And it gives us a clear picture of why America began taking out people and have continued to do so in a manner that they've done in covert behavior. They had to covertly take out Malcolm X. They created a hostile environment within the Nation of Islam to deflect the ultimate goal.
That's right.
Because the nation did not benefit from Malcolm getting killed. America did. Because Malcolm was by far head and shoulders above everybody when you're talking about poor people and the economy of the world of people of color.
Right.
Malcolm was way ahead of everybody. Martin began to ascend to that point, and he had to be taken out. So that's what you're looking at. You're looking at a situation when you look at these murders, and you look and you focus on the evidence from the murder of Dr. King, and after his murder, you also see why the Panther Party had to be destroyed. Why they had to create this person called Maulana Karenga from the US organization and pit him against the Panther Party. And now he's been glorified as a person that is so-called interested in your liberation.
Exactly.
And has done nothing.
Has done nothing.
Nothing to that point.
You know, that's true. What they do, this is what they do. They put false leaders up there. They pick blacks up there. This is, you know, this guy's going to be your leader from now on. You know, you shouldn't have this person. The person who's really going to do things for you.
Right.
Get this guy. We found this guy somewhere. You get him. We polished him up and brushed him off. He's your leader. You know, we've fallen for this countless times. You know, to our own detriment. But this is what's going on today. You know, it's just a travesty. You know, and one other person that you didn't mention, Medgar Evers.
Medgar Evers, right?
The threat with Evers, he was also changing policy. There was two things Evers was changing. And those of you who read my blog, The Buffalo Bullet, if you don't do it, please do it. Because there's a man on there, a columnist that I carry named Alton Maddox. He talks a lot about Medgar Evers. Medgar Evers was changing the vote. Okay, he was actually enlisting black people to vote.
Right.
Okay, back in Mississippi. Also, he was putting out a public affairs program. He's probably the first to put out a public affairs program, challenge the FCC. And then he went on was going to start on his own show, and he's on the show. Imagine this: a guy in the Deep South, back then in the ~50s, saying, "Okay, get out and vote." This is Medgar Evers, blah blah blah. Get out and vote. This is my show. Thanks for watching my show. This is becoming normalized to people. A week or two later, that's when he got shot. But it was a lot of people believe that's the main thing. They're turning the TV on. They see Medgar Evers instead of just seeing all white, and not just all white, but all white right-wing philosophy. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
That's a shock to your system.
Absolutely.
Okay, so he fought the media at that time and won for a little while, but he got the ball rolling. You know, it's a struggle. Just the fact that the network is not a top-rated show.
Absolutely.
On TV tells you, we go against the grain on a lot of things. Grain. Okay, that's just the way it is.
Right.
So, my thing is, when you do things like that, like King did, when you tell the truth, and you don't compromise, you become a target. Right. That's the main thing. We don't ever want to forget that. That's the one thing it taught me back in those days. And I want to encourage young people, that's the way you want to be, but you have to be aware of the dangers of that.
Beware of the dangers, beware of the threat, and beware of those that will try to take what you're doing and distort what you're trying to accomplish.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to talk more on the network next week. We've got a lot to talk about in the world. We've talked about Dr. Martin Luther King. We're going to dive deeper into this in the future. But that's all for us here on the network. We'll see you next week right here on the network.
Next week.
Tonight, and we as a people will get to the promised land. anything. I'm not fearing any man. Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of